American psychologists are set to recodify the rules regarding interactions and interrogations with military prisoners. The American Psychological Association will revisit the 2015 rule that bans psychologists from participating in interrogations, but does allow military psychologists to provide mental health treatment to prisoners. Psychologists at the APA argue that the rule inhibits the ability to practice their profession. The initial ban came after revelations that psychologists had participated in abusive interrogation methods, torture on detainees following the September 11th attacks. For more on this, welcome Alka Pradhan, Human Rights Counsel at the Guantanamo Bay Military Commissions and Human Rights Counsel for Ammar Baluchi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Why was this rule made in the first place? Walk us through the role psychologists played in that post-9/11 situation.
Well, as we know now, psychologists were intimately involved in the development of the torture program, both the CIA torture program and the evolution of those torture techniques at Guantanamo Bay, starting very shortly after September 11th, 2001. And some of those, the details of those programs are available to the public. Many are still classified, but we know, for example, that waterboarding is a famous example. Men were sleep deprived for years at a time. My client, Mr. Baluchi, was sleep deprived for 3.5 years. Years, continuously.
Wow.
Years. He was kept in bright lights, loud music, woken continuously, beaten, such that he can't sleep anymore. He can't sleep more than a couple of hours at a time. And it was psychologists who oversaw and actually designed the program all along the way, even at Guantanamo Bay. And so the American Psychological Association finally recognized their involvement in the torture program in 2015 and banned military psychologists from participating anymore, which is in keeping with their obligation not to participate in administering services where the United Nations has determined that torture is committed, which is Guantanamo Bay, and the United Nations has said that many times. So that's where the rule came from, and it's just astonishing that just 3 years later, the APA is now set to renege on that.
Do you think the rule will change?
You know, there has been such an enormous public outcry, not just from attorneys who represent the victims of the torture program, but from human rights organizations, from the former Special Rapporteur on Torture at the United Nations, Juan Mendez, saying, look, Guantanamo Bay is not just a place of previous torture, it is a place where torture continues to exist. These men are continue to be held in arbitrary detention. They continue to be held in conditions of confinement that constitute torture. And so putting military psychologists who are answerable to the Department of Defense in a Department of Defense installation where they will be expected to follow orders is absolutely untenable. Both sides, the military psychologists and the detainees who have immense, understandable distrust of military psychologists at this point, are incompatible.
You've described some harrowing stuff. Do you think that the reputation of the profession has suffered?
Yes, absolutely. I think that psychologists as a whole have been tarnished by, especially in wartime detention, right, which is something that's existed for centuries, if not longer. But there have always been rules. There has always been a law of war, and there has always been a very clear set of rules around the treatment of prisoners. And so the fact that medical providers were so intimately involved in violating all of those rules in international law and domestic law is something that the profession should be frankly taking a harder look at and not be acting with impunity as they seem to be doing now.
Alka Pradhan, thank you for your context and perspective on this important story.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.